Welcome to Subramani. As usual, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is the mistakes that I see in portfolios. Why am I talking about it now? Because many people do a portfolio review, which could happen even in June. So I was looking at a friend's portfolio. Okay, I don't normally do this, right? I don't normally like to look at people's portfolio and comment, especially if they already have an advisor. There is no value add that I'm going to do, at least that's what I think. But let me just spot some of the mistakes which I see, and I thought if you are making those mistakes, you should also be able to correct it. First is a long portfolio. Most portfolios I see today are long, extremely long, I would say. 20, 30 schemes, some individual stocks, some bonds, right? So this is the combination that I have. So you see a longish portfolio and effectively not achieving any great thing, right? So 2, 3 large cap funds, focused large cap funds and long large cap funds, some index funds, then mid cap, small cap, multi cap, flexi cap, you name it, and they have everything. Balance advantage fund, then multi-asset funds. So the industry has helped us a lot by creating so many silos of investments, and people buy it without understanding. I mean, I'm not sure whether too many advisors also know the difference between a multi-asset fund and a a multi-cap fund and a flexi cap fund, right? Multi-cap fund is riskier and it is more rigid than a flexi cap. In a flexi cap, the fund manager decides how much to put in large cap, mid cap, and small cap. But in the multi cap, it's fixed as to how much he can put in each of those asset classes. So you have to understand the difference. We have created. I've done a video saying how this mutual fund industry has thrown products at people and how sales people have sold it to you. But before blaming them, let us also find out why people buy so many other schemes. Because if I go and tell somebody, just to draw an old example, Sir Franklin India Blue Chip is a good fund, that I already have, tell me something new. So the poor advisor has to find something new for the investor who keeps asking, because the advisor doesn't have the guts to tell him, sir, it is okay, you have only 1 lakh, there's no harm even if you put 20 lakhs, doesn't really matter. Because I remember hearing that when I was building my equity portfolio, once my broker was asking me to buy Hindalco, and I said I already have Hindalco. So he turned to me and said, no, I've spoken to Mr. Aditya Birla, he does not mind if you buy another 500 shares or another 1000 shares. So that is exactly how you have to look at it. Putting more money in the same fund or in the same share is not a bad idea at all. But when I see portfolios, I see them very long. I also see that people put in different ELSS schemes every year. So over 5 years, they would have invested in 5 ELSS schemes or 7 ELSS schemes over 7 years. Why couldn't have you done an SIP in one ELSS scheme like the way you do it in one PPF, right? Why couldn't you have done that? No, I don't know, but people have done this. Maybe their advisors had some incentive to sell different ELSS schemes, or maybe the client himself, you yourself asked that, oh no, I already have Canrebeco, so give me something else. So he gave you SBI. Then you say, oh, I already have SBI, give me HDFC. So you asked for it, and some the advisor gave, and some advisor had some vested interest saying, oh, I think this is a new scheme that is coming, NFO, so you bought NFO. I'm not getting into the reasons, but most portfolios I see are extremely long. This extremely long portfolio, then there is one more addition, is a long list of equity shares which they've got. 100 shares, 200 shares, 500 shares of very many companies. Some sentimental, saying, oh, my neighbor used to work in Colgate, so I got some shares of Colgate. When I took the HDFC loan, Subra asked me to buy 50 shares of HDFC Limited, so therefore I have 50 shares of HDFC Limited. Things have been accumulated over long periods of time without knowing why. And unfortunately or fortunately, some of them could be large cap shares. So you could have Reliance, you could have HDFC, you could have Larsen and Toubro, you could have maybe State Bank of India, and you have invested in 4 large cap funds. So there is tremendous amount of overlap. So if you are not a person who is going to look after the equity portfolio on a regular basis, I'm not saying on a day-to-day basis, and if you don't know why your father bought Colgate and gave it to you, or why your elder brother bought and therefore you also bought, if you don't know the reasons, if you are not in touch with the person who asked you to buy, there is no way how you will know when to sell. So the best in such cases is to just get rid of your portfolio simply because you don't know how to manage. I personally run my own equity portfolio. So I'm not saying equity portfolio is bad, but if you do not know why you are running an equity portfolio, don't run an equity portfolio. Don't manage it yourself and make a mess of it. Your mutual funds are good enough. Another thing which I see in most portfolios is a long list of mutual funds, and very many of them underperforming as a fund house or as a scheme. There is no sentiment attached to it. It is just out of laziness that people don't go and close accounts. So some 10, 12, 15, 20 they have been there, so then further gets added. Oh no, my broker told me that balance advantage fund is good, so he's put in the balance advantage fund. Then there is a multi-asset fund. Now, so you don't even know why you have put into all these things, but you have put. And it is nothing wrong. You can run a multi-asset fund as your core portfolio. You can run a BAF as your core portfolio and keep the other things as peripheral. Perfectly all right. But at least you should know what you are doing. You cannot have 20 schemes or 25 schemes not knowing which is core, which is a satellite, right? Sorry. I think HDFC had a scheme called Core and Satellite Fund, right? So you cannot keep on adding things just because the flavor of the month is that. I add funds to my own portfolio based on what I think the fund manager is doing. If there is a fund manager who is doing a good job in a particular fund and I know him or her, they are doing a good job, there is no reason why I come out of it. So somebody asked yesterday or day before yesterday on my channel, how many years of underperformance would you allow in a mid-cap fund? I have invested in two mid-cap funds, maybe 1999 or 2000 or 2001, and I have stuck to them for 22 years. And even now when I see 18% CAGR, I see no reason why I should make any great change. I like those fund managers, they are doing a good job. Fairly obvious, I am not going to name them. So if you don't know why you have invested in so many schemes, it's time to do a ruthless portfolio consolidation and keep removing. And I am not talking of people with 4-5 crore portfolio who have got a long portfolio. I am talking of even people with less than 2 crores who would have such a longish portfolio. Makes no sense. So if you want, you have a large cap, one mid cap, one multi cap, or flexi cap or something like that, and that's good enough. If you don't even want to do that, one flexi cap should be good enough, one flexi cap, one multi asset, and maybe some 2-3 debt funds. So debt funds again going on maturity. You have a ultra short bond fund and some long term bond fund, right? So that's it. You need 4-5 funds. Maybe you have some pension plan. That's about it. So 5 plans. Why would you want more? So if you already have a mid cap fund and I come and tell you, look at this mid cap fund, it is good, just go and put more money in your mid cap fund which you trust. If you don't trust, then remove from that and put it in this mid cap fund, right? Another thing which I see in a portfolio is between what the person wants as asset allocation or what he or she thinks should be the asset allocation and what they actually have. There is a difference, right? So you think that you want more money in equity, but you have more money in debt funds. So these things also happen, which is quite rare, but not so rare that it should not be mentioned. So largely, one more thing which I'll tell you is 90% of the people get a 50%, 60% of the portfolio right. It is not as though the portfolio is wrong, but it can be made more optimal by getting to a better asset allocation, by making sure that you withdraw the money much in advance of your requirement. If you require the money in the month of September 23, you don't start withdrawing in July 23. You should have started withdrawing in maybe January 23 or even earlier than that, depending on the size, quantum of money that you need. Is it some money which you must come from the portfolio, or you can pay from your regular income also? Then you are less worried about what happens to the market if the market crashes. But if it's a big amount, say school fees or marriage expenses, then you have to plan much more in advance. Don't wait till the last minute. You don't know what the market can do, right? leading to the 2024 elections. Market can fall very badly now and then recover once the 2024 elections are over. The other thing which could happen is Indians are also buying, Indians are buying mutual funds, Indians are buying direct equity, but it is the same time when the FII, who now not knowing where else to invest, is coming and investing in India. So all these things keep happening. When you are investing, be careful about all this and then do your investments. Thank you. So that way, or maybe you have 2 mid cap funds, but what is the logic in having 5 large cap funds and index fund and an equity portfolio where you have HDFC Bank and HDFC Limited, now it's all become HDFC Bank, Reliance and State Bank and Larsen and Toubro and Infosys and TCS? What are you trying to do? Why is there so much of duplication? That another thing is, if it's a fund portfolio of a person run by a bank, very good chance that the bank would have suggested dividend option, which means you have one same fund, let's say Invesco Infrastructure Fund growth option and Invesco Infrastructure Fund dividend option. What sense does it make? So now the argument is, oh, but dividends are anyway taxable. Dividends are taxable, but company dividends are not coming out of your principal, whereas mutual fund dividends could even be coming out of your principal. So be very careful. You don't know what you are trying to do, right? Equity mutual fund dividends are not called dividends. Go and find out what it is called, right? There is a capital distribution also which is happening. So be careful. It does not make any sense to be in the dividend option of mutual funds and pay tax on part of your principal coming back. Don't do that. It's not worth it, right? So make your portfolio, prune your portfolio, keep it short. If there is duplication in your equity portfolio and in your mutual fund portfolio, ruthlessly clean up your equity portfolio. If you don't even know why you have bought, if you don't know, if you're not in touch with the person who asked you to bought, all the more to buy those shares, then get rid of those shares, right? So if you don't understand why you have bought, sell. If your father gave it to you, don't be sentimental. Maybe your father would have himself sold it, right? So when I see a portfolio, I know when that portfolio has not, from when that portfolio has not been attended to. So if somebody has lost his father in 2018, it doesn't mean in 2018 the father stopped attending to the portfolio. Maybe he stopped attending in 2017 or 14, right? So 4 years he was bedridden, and after that this family woke up to that portfolio. So look at what is happening, whether you're paying enough attention, see where you have located the shares, in the sense that in which demat account, right? So do all that, clean up. Make sure that unnecessary things don't keep piling up, number of bank accounts, number of folios, check the names, right? Do all this as part of your portfolio cleanup, because I see too much of clutter in portfolios. Don't do that. Somebody who is going to manage it after you is going to thank you for the cleaning up. Thank you.